Hey, good day, fellow gearheads. This is Ricky Bustamante, Busto, coming to you from my little studio in Pearl River, New York. I wanted to take a moment and try and demonstrate how I'm using my new Euro rack system and some of the modules into some of my productions. I've had this Nifty case for probably, I don't even know now, it's gotta be 2 months, because in the beginning I ordered some modules for it, and it seemed to take forever to get some of them to come here, so I don't even know how long I've had it for, maybe 2 months. But anyway, it's taken a bit to get it going just because I'm a total newbie at it. If it wasn't for my friend helping me out on so many different questions, I don't think I even would have gotten to this point. And also, the Nifty case was totally inspired by him having two, so once I had a demo of what he was doing with his, I was like, you know what, this is something I gotta get into just to be able to get and come up with different sounds on my own. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Eurorack. You really truly make it what you want it to be. Every piece is from a different manufacturer, can all be from the same manufacturer. All depends on what your preferences are. But the Nifty case itself, I don't know if you can see it wholly, it's an incredible way to get into the world of Eurorack without spending a ton of money. I think the case alone, I don't even know exactly, it might be like $130 on its own, but I got the Nifty bundle, which includes this module called chips, and then I've got this module called cells, which I don't really use because you can trigger it to play sounds and it's a sequencer, but I kind of knew when I got it that I would try and use my sequencing. So I have a hardware unit called the circuit mono station, which I absolutely love, and it has its own pads for playing keys on it, and I know I could sequence out of the back using CV control voltage into here. There's a lot of connections on the back of this thing, both MIDI over USB, and control voltage, which is all on the top right here. So yeah, so it's just been a matter of finding my modules one by one, putting them together, and then figuring out how they all interact with each other, which has not been super easy. A lot of YouTube video watching, whatever. But basically, the best I can explain a Eurorack system and any basic synthesis setup, I guess, would be to, if we can go to this old keyboard here for a minute from the 70s. This is a Korg, and what it does is they used to lay it out right on the screen, which makes it very helpful. So you've got VCOs, this is VCO1, this is VCO2. Basically that stands for voltage control oscillator. That's your sound source. An oscillator is your sound source right there. The mixer blends these two together. That's how that works there. And then your filter controls the tonality of it, whether it's going to be, very present or very dull. And then you can move, in this case, sliders around to play with the sound. And then the envelope generator is what gets your sound its starting and stopping points. Basically an ADSR, attack, decay, sustain, and release. That depends on how long the note's going to hold after you release it, how long it'll stay when the key is depressed, and how much attack time, if it comes in slow like on a curve, or if it starts immediately when you depress the key. And then here's a modulator, basically an LFO. So these are your building blocks right on the surface of the keyboard. You got your VCOs, which would be like one module, and you've got a filter, which would be another module, and then you got your ADSR or envelope generator, which would be another. LFOs. So basically it's taking all these things here and breaking them down into individual modules. That's pretty much the simplest way I can explain that. Even this older analog synth here, I like it when they used to just lay it right out. So here are your VCOs here, your waveforms, here's your delay, attack, decay, sustain. I'm sorry, delay wasn't part of the ADSR right there. Attack, decay, sustain, release. So this would be a module on a Eurorack right here. The VCOs would be a module right there. All these things, LFO, OSC, PW, pulse width, oscillator, and low frequency oscillator, these would also be modules. Each one of these can be an individual module. LFO right there, frequency and amount. So those are the basic building blocks of synthesis right there. I know a quick explanation doesn't really probably help much, but showing the way they are here, I apologize for all the cables, but this is kind of the mess you deal with when you deal with this stuff. So one thing I gotta say about this I don't love is just it's such a mess. I mean, look at that. There's the cables hanging everywhere. And then my buddy turned me on to these hubs, which enables you to split signals. So it's even getting messier. Now it's going off the actual Nifty itself and going over into the corners here. It's pretty funny, but you know, it's a trip. It's like a science project from high school or college, or one of those kits we all had when we were kids, right? With the springs on it and the bores, and you connect wires, and it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Excuse my cam work. I just have an iPhone, and I don't even know if the audio quality is going to be that great, but bear with me on this. So right off the bat, you can see this is a VCO. This is an analog VCO. So this is one of my sound sources, Hysteria by Dreadbox. The next one I have is the chips which came included with the Nifty bundle. This is a digital oscillator. It sounds completely different than this. This has a very raw, I think they were trying to make it sound like kind of video gamey a little bit. There's a whole genre of music out there called chip tune, and I guess that's kind of what they were going for with this thing. You know, Sega, Nintendo kind of synthesizer sounds. And then my last one I just got, I want to say I got this 2 weeks ago or so. This is a module, another VCO, a digital module called, it's from a company called Blue Lantern. And I want to say it's called VCO2 or something. It's very cool because it has a sub-oscillator for some alternate low-end sounds and high-end sounds. And it's digital, so it never goes out of tune. But it's got this bit crusher, so you can select the bit rate from something really low and lo-fi sounding to a little bit higher and crispier. And then it has waveforms you can cycle through, and this glide knob, which kind of gives like a little bit of a portamento to everything. These controls, glide, sub, these can all be controlled from another unit called the LFO. So the LFO is right here. Basically what this means is a low frequency oscillator. See how the lights are blinking. They're blinking to a pulse. And that's the beautiful thing about the Euro rack, is that you can control anything from almost anything else if you patch it up correctly. So I'm still learning the ins and outs of it. But let me demonstrate this module here, this VCA. This is it's a mixer and it's a gain. So it gives me my volume, and it'll determine whatever you plug into here, which module we're going to hear. So as of right now, this is my Hysteria. That's this one, and I've got this one plugged in here too on this one. So if I bring this one down, you're just going to hear the Hysteria right now. I have it tuned a little high. That's because I'm having it blend with the other one, but that's just the Hysteria right now. It's a little short. If I want to lengthen the decay, I can take up the release, the decay, and the sustain. So I'm just triggering it from this thing. I'm basically using it as like a little keyboard module to trigger, just for demonstration purposes. And then I've got this this filter here, which will take some of the high end out, kind of dull it up. I can crank up the resonance, make it sound really squealy, if you will, almost distorty. And then now I'll feature the Blue Lantern module. This sounds completely different. This has a sub-oscillator and some waveforms in here. They're both sharing this same module here, so the length will be exactly the same. So I'm going to just play. I'll show you how quickly you can just record something on this thing. I'm just going to throw just some notes in here. Just random. So I just held this while holding this. This is my sequencer part right here. I'm just going to hit play. So now I can be hands-free a little bit and turn some knobs. So this is the sub. Try and get closer here. Completely crush the sound. Add some glide. That's like, I don't even know what it's doing. It's crushing it so much, I guess it's gone. Okay, that sounds nice and raw. So I'm going to cut down on the sustain a little bit here. A little more tacky. And now I can turn this one off using the mixer and bring in, this is the Dreadbox now, this one right here. So that's 2 VCOs, but now you're hearing just this one. So now I'm going to bring them both in. So now you hear 2 mixed. So that's kind of a cool sound, and I can turn the glide off. See, that was adding a little bit of warble to it. I can bring it back in again. Crank it up. And while they're both playing, you can just mess with these knobs. Now it's more bassy. This is the Blue Lantern module. You can change the waveforms. Just a tiny twist gives you like something radically different. And I can erase this pattern from here. Just select pattern, clear, back to notes. I can actually play it bigger like a keyboard here. Oh, see, it's recording. Sorry. Get rid of that. Okay. Go back to notes, expand the keyboard. See, it's already recording, so I guess I can just hit anything here and just play along. I'll just hit anything with it and it'll just pick it up. So okay, clear that, don't like that. Go back to expand it again. Let's see here, do okay, I like that. So I'm going to go to note, and this shows you exactly what you hit. Okay, so that's cool for now. So I can still mess around with this over here. So now I can show you what the filter does. You're totally taking the sound down, crank up the resonance, turn the volume up. Turn the length up of the filter and envelope. So get some really cool tones out of this thing. Hit stop here. So I got this very end module right here. It's by a company called Strymon. It's the AA.1 or something like that. Basically what it allows you to do, and the main reason I got it, it allows you to incorporate your guitar pedals or effects pedals into a Eurorack system, which I thought for myself was going to be an essential part of my rig, because I have a lot of pedals. I mean, when you think about it, pedals are like the, you know, they're like in their own modular setup, if you will, of their own. I mean, they were like the first modular setups. Everybody would get, you know, what they would want to use, a distortion box, a reverb, a chorus, a tremolo, whatever, chain them together in the way they want. So in a way, it's kind of its own modular system as well. So, but this enables me to patch it up, which is great. You can also directly input guitar in here, so you can feed it through some of the filters and such. But that being said, that cool sound, I can now add a chorus pedal. And I have this newer ambient reverb pedal I got, which I love. Very inexpensive, by 80 bucks. Now I can tighten up the decay. So you can hear that. That's very cool. Now I like throwing a little overdrive into this sometimes too. Just for a little bit more attack. back up where it was. So you really get a good sense of what's going on when you, you know, when you put it all together, and it takes a while to put it together. But another beautiful thing is too, this has MIDI, this Nifty case, and you can synchronize things via clock and CV outputs on it to other pieces of gear. You know, whatever it might be, like this drum machine over here. So I'm going to call up a different pattern I just made before here. Call up this one, go to note. Okay, so I'm trying to remember what I did here. Let me hit this. Just a simple pattern I made. You can play with these a little bit here. Add some of that chorus again, some reverb. And now I can fly in a little pattern from this into the Euro rack as well. Turn the mix down on the reverb. Now we're hearing this Korg vocal keys being synced to the Euro rack. I'm sorry, being synced to the mono station via the CV out. And now I can even bring something like a drum. That was on here, I just turned it on. So now I got the Euro rack going. Two modules from the Euro rack synced to the Korg vocal keys. The Euro rack is being sequenced from here, and then I have the Boss drum machine synced up via MIDI, so it's really cool. And now I can change the length of the patterns if I want to get some difference going. I can speed this up. Turn the chorus back on here. Get that reverb again. So you get a sense of what's going on here. You can really, this is without using a computer now. You can just get everything synced up together if you just take the time to figure out how to do it. And it's very cool. I can fade this back out again. Turn the drums off. I can also change the pattern of what's playing on here. So now it's reversing the pattern. I like putting it on random sometimes. Bring this back in. Back to normal. I'm going to turn this off for a second. Get back to this. And turn this off. And the chorus off. And I'm going to demonstrate the LFO really quickly. Let's see. If I get this guy going out here. Stick it into this module here. I think I put it. So one thing that really I needed to get when I got this thing, and the whole reason I say that is because this thing to me was the star of the show, this module called Clouds. when my buddy played this with this thing and he just fed sounds through it, it completely just altered the way they react to everything. It just mangled it up. It's called a texture synthesizer. Basically what it does is it samples little bits of sound into grains, and then it rearranges them in some either random or not random way and plays it back. Now this thing has 4 different modes. I'm in one called spectral delay, which I've kind of fallen in love with recently. I just can't get enough of it. I'll try and show you on its own what it sounds like. I'm just going to play this pattern again. So this is nothing on right now except just the VCOs you're hearing right now. When I turn this blend knob up, okay, see that sounds too weird. I'm going to unplug this. So it sounds like it's just a delay, but it's really not. It's doing a lot more things here. So with this LFO, the low frequency oscillator being triggered from this clock in time with the drums and that sequencer, I can start doing things that match more quickly in time or lock right into the pattern. See, what that's doing now is it's freezing bits of sound. This is the original sound. It's freezing bits of sound in time because I've input this freeze input from this LFO, this low frequency oscillator. Basically it's just firing off samples in time. And you can stick this into any one of these. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about experimentation. You never know what you're going to come up with. Oh, that sounds pretty wacky, whatever that's doing. Now you can control how much of the freeze you get. I know this might be getting a little confusing, but believe me, it's still confusing to me too. I just get basically getting the little bits and pieces down of what it does. But these flashing lights and these cables coming out, you can send them to trigger other things. So I have the one doing the freeze, and I can say do this this filter. See, now we've got the filter cutoff being controlled by these same in-sync low frequency oscillators. Now you can hear that freeze if I turn this clouds off. It's cool, but it doesn't sound anywhere near as interesting, I don't think. I can bring this filter down more. And then turn this blend knob up so you hear the freeze going on. If I turn this all the way over, you're just hearing the frozen sound now, basically the granular samples coming through with no original signal. So you can get some pretty crazy stuff going, and I've barely scratched the surface. I haven't even scratched the surface. I'm just trying to write and record with this stuff now too. Open up the pulse a little bit. Bring these back in. Slow this to a difference. Turn the drums off again. Turn this off. I'm gonna hit stop now. So, you know, that's an overview. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. It's not easy to try and explain this stuff, so hopefully I've done a decent job. So basically what I do is when I come up with a patch I like, as I've learned, it's very tough to get the patch back again. So what I've been doing is just going straight to record them is, I found, the best way to capture the sounds. That way I'm not going to lose it again. So I'm working on a song here, brand new, laid it down this week, and I wanted to make it more ambient and incorporate some of these Euro rack sounds into it, like feature it or make it in the background. And here's an example of one of the ones that came from this rack, and I just dumped it into here when I heard what I liked. It's kind of a pulsy ambient thing, and then I have another one coming in right here. I got two more coming up in my chorus. Washed out sound, so one of this has heavy distortion and reverb, and the other one is more straight ahead, but blended together. I just love the way they sound together. And then, so I might spend anywhere from 15 to 45 on a patch and decide, even after I record it, that I may not like it. I think I've dumped probably, I don't know, 6 to 8 to 10 different things that I did not like. But that's the way it goes. It's like experimentation, and it's been very, very creative. That's what I really love about it. So one of the chops I did that I didn't like, it wound up playing at the end, kind of off in the distance, not part of the song, and I heard it again. I'm like, oh, I like that. So it's part of one of those patterns you've heard, but I just kind of faded in from the beginning. So these, in my mind, are definitely adding a lot to the song. So here they are. Here is that sound, that first sound I played in context. So I'm done. 28 minutes in. I hope this was helpful. I intended to do a full review of this Nifty case, but every time I got to singing on to doing something with it, I just wound up making sounds. It took me a few weeks to get all these modules together, and not everything was in stock when I wanted them, and they came from Reverb.com and Sweetwater, and I think that was the main two I got it from. Oh, and Perfect Circuit Audio, which my buddy turned me on to too. That's where this really cool module came from. But in my opinion, it's so great. But I think this clouds, as far as creativity as well, is part of this is the main star of the show. This is the whole reason I got this thing, just the way it mangles audio. I haven't even tried. These are 2 audio inputs and 2 audio outputs. I haven't even tried putting, like pre-recorded guitar or vocals through it. I'm very excited to hear what that can do. So basically, this to me is like just a big effects unit, and it just happens to blend in with all these modules. Yeah, so it is a bit of a mess pulling back. Look at that. It's all these cables in and out, and I'm kind of I like to be neat in my studio. I like to have things pretty well set up, and so this to me is kind of like, but it is very creative, and it's nice to just rip out all the cables and start from scratch. Like I have the sound I have on there now, and I haven't even used it for anything yet, but I intend to. And if not, you come up with something else again. So that's it. So anyway, if you're looking to get into any sort of Euro rack and you don't want to spend a lot of money, although that's a bit of a fallacy, because even though these modules are fairly inexpensive when you add them up, I think I was tricked into it wasn't, hey, it's not that expensive. But anyway, the Nifty case is the way to go. If you buy the bundle, you get sound making modules right off the bat, at least 2. And as it was pointed out to me, I can sell the one I'm not going to use on Reverb, and my buddy also sells the ones he doesn't like. He may buy one and use it. It's like, it's not for me. And then just go on reverb.com. They don't seem to lose value, which is a good thing. So anyway, guys, thanks for hanging in there with me. Half hour later, I just wanted to explain how I use my new Eurorack system in my productions. This is the first time I've actually used it in a big way, or trying to squeeze it in there. And I hope you learned something from it and dug it. And cool, man. Peace out, guys. Talk to you later.